I still remember the day I first met James Mitchell. It was at a tech startup conference in San Francisco. I was giving a presentation on digital marketing strategies. He sat in the front row, his eyes never leaving the screen. Not me, just the screen. That's what I liked about him initially. Most men at these conferences would stare at the presenter. But James was different. He was genuinely interested in the content. After my presentation, he approached me with specific questions about conversion rates. No small talk, no flirting. Just pure, professional curiosity. I found it refreshing. We exchanged business cards, and I thought that would be it. But fate had other plans. 2 days later, he emailed me about a potential collaboration. His software company needed marketing expertise. My agency was looking for new clients. It was a perfect match. Or so I thought. Our first business meeting turned into dinner. Dinner turned into drinks. Drinks turned into a walk along the San Francisco Bay. Under the Golden Gate Bridge, he finally looked at me instead of his laptop. His eyes were kind, intelligent, and somehow vulnerable. That's when I knew I was in trouble. We started dating 3 weeks later. Everyone said we were the perfect Silicon Valley power couple. The software engineer and the marketing executive. Our Instagram feed was enviable. Weekend trips to Napa Valley. Charity galas in designer outfits. Hiking adventures in Yosemite. We got married exactly 1 year after that conference. The wedding was Pinterest perfect. Everything was curated, filtered, hashtagged. Hashtag power couple, hashtag Silicon Valley love, hashtag dream life. James bought us a beautiful house in Palo Alto. 4 bedrooms, anticipating the family we planned to have. A nursery waiting to be decorated. A backyard perfect for children's birthday parties. We had it all planned out. 2 kids, maybe 3. Private schools, summer camps, family vacations. The American Dream, Silicon Valley edition. For the first 2 years, everything was perfect. Or at least, it looked perfect on social media. Reality had its cracks, but we ignored them. James worked late most nights. I traveled frequently for client meetings. We were building our careers, we told ourselves. Setting up for our future family. Then we started trying for a baby. Month after month, nothing happened. I downloaded fertility apps. Tracked my cycle religiously. Bought expensive ovulation kits. Still nothing. James suggested seeing a specialist. Dr. Anderson's office was modern and sterile. Like everything else in our lives. We went through countless tests. Blood work, hormone levels, genetic screening. The day we got the results, everything changed. James was infertile. A genetic condition, the doctor explained. Treatment options were limited. Almost non-existent. I sat there, numb. James reached for my hand. I pulled away. "Oh," was all I could say. Just oh. I saw the pain in his eyes. But I couldn't comfort him. Couldn't find the words. All I could think about was our perfect plan. Crumbling. That night, I cried in the shower. Where James couldn't hear me. Where Instagram couldn't see me. Where I could let the perfect facade crack. I started staying late at work. Buried myself in client presentations. Avoided going home. Avoided looking at James. Every baby announcement on social media felt like a knife. Every pregnant woman on the street was a reminder of what I couldn't have. of what James couldn't give me. That's when I met Mark Davidson. He was a client at first. Charismatic startup founder. Everything he touched turned to gold. He noticed when I changed my hair, complimented my presentations, made me feel seen again. It started innocently enough. Coffee meetings to discuss strategy. Lunch meetings that ran long. Text messages about work that turned personal. He told me about his dreams. His plans for the future. A future that included children. Many children. I should have stopped it then. Should have blocked his number. Should have changed clients. But I didn't. Instead, I started lying to James. Work trips that weren't work trips. Girls' nights that weren't with the girls. Client meetings in LA that were really with Mark. I was living two lives. One for Instagram. One for myself. Then Mark suggested I leave James. We could have everything, he said. The family you've always wanted. I knew it would destroy James. Knew it would shatter our perfect image. But I was tired of images. Tired of pretending. I planned it carefully. Told James about a girl's trip to New York. Fashion Week, I said. He drove me to SFO, kissed me goodbye. I watched him drive away, knowing I wouldn't be getting on any plane. Mark was waiting at a hotel in Los Angeles. Promise of a new life in his smile. Promise of a family in his embrace. I turned off my phone. Deleted my social media accounts. Disappeared into a future that seemed perfect. Again. But perfect doesn't last. It never does. The first sign was morning sickness. 2 months after leaving James. I was pregnant. Mark's reaction wasn't what I expected. His smile didn't reach his eyes. We need to talk, he said. Those 4 words. Always those 4 words. He wasn't ready for a family, he said. Had never been ready. It was just talk, just dreams. Not reality. Not his reality. I watched him walk away. Just like I had walked away from James. Karma, some would say. Justice, others might think. I called it hell. My perfect plan. My perfect life. Shattered again. I sat in my hotel room. Staring at the pregnancy test. Thinking about James. Thinking about choices. Thinking about consequences. My hand instinctively went to my stomach. Where a life was growing. A life that wasn't James's. A life that Mark didn't want. A life that was now my responsibility. Alone. The word echoed in my mind. Alone. No more perfect couple. No more filtered photos. No more curated life. Just me. And my choices. And their consequences. I cried that night. Not in the shower this time. But in a sterile hotel room. With no one to hide from. No one to pretend for. Just me and my truth. The truth I had been running from. The truth about perfect lives. And perfect lies. And how easily both can shatter. The months that followed were a blur of morning sickness and regret. I moved into a small apartment in San Diego. Far from Silicon Valley. Far from my old life. Far from James. I took freelance marketing jobs. Working from home. Hiding my growing belly from video calls. My parents were disappointed. How could you throw away a perfect marriage? They didn't understand. Nobody did. Sometimes I didn't understand either. I Googled James once. His company had gone public. His face was on tech magazines. Success written all over him. He looked different. Stronger somehow. While I felt weaker every day. The baby kicked for the first time during a client call. I muted myself and cried. Tears of joy. Tears of fear. Tears of loneliness. I hadn't planned for this. Single motherhood wasn't part of my perfect story. But here I was. Writing a new chapter. One morning sickness at a time. My doctor was kind. She didn't judge when I came to appointments alone. Didn't ask about the father. Just checked the heartbeat. Measured the growth. Told me everything was perfect. Perfect. That word again. I'd grown to hate it. The baby shower was small. Just a few new friends from prenatal yoga. No designer gifts. No professional photographer. No social media posts. It felt more real somehow. More honest. I decorated the nursery myself. IKEA furniture instead of custom pieces. Target decor instead of Pottery Barn. But I loved it more than my Palo Alto mansion. It was mine. Truly mine. Labor lasted 23 hours. I had no one to hold my hand. No one to wipe my forehead. No one to share the moment. But when they placed him in my arms, nothing else mattered. He was perfect. Truly perfect. Not Instagram perfect. Not Silicon Valley perfect. Just perfect. I named him Noah. A new beginning. A fresh start. Like after the flood. He had Mark's eyes. But my smile. And neither of our ambitions. Just pure innocence. Pure love. The first few months were harder than I imagined. Sleepless nights. Endless feedings. Constant worry. No breaks. No help. No escape. My savings dwindled. Freelance work barely covered rent. Client calls with a crying baby in the background. This wasn't the life I had planned. Not even close. Then came the eviction notice. 3 months behind on rent. The freelance work had dried up. The economy was tanking. Tech companies were laying off. No one needed marketing consultants. I tried reaching out to old clients. But my reputation was hot. The woman who disappeared. The professional who ghosted. No one trusted me anymore. I sold my designer bags. My expensive watches. My wedding ring. Still not enough. Noah got sick. Nothing serious. Just a cold. But the medical bills. The prescription costs. They broke me. That's when I thought of James. Not for the first time. But for the first time seriously. He had money now. Success. Stability. Everything I had thrown away. Everything Noah needed. I found his address online. Still in Palo Alto. Same house. Our house. My hands shook as I packed our bags. Was I desperate? Yes. Was I wrong? Probably. Did I have a choice? It didn't feel like it. The drive from San Diego was long. Noah slept most of the way. I practiced what I'd say. Rehearsed my apologies. planned my explanations. None of them seemed good enough. The house looked different. The garden was fuller, more alive than when I lived there. Like it had bloomed in my absence. I sat in the car for an hour. Watching. Waiting. Gathering courage. Finally, I picked up Noah. Walked to the door. Each step felt heavier than the last. My finger hovered over the doorbell. Everything I had run from, everything I had destroyed, was behind that door. I pressed it. Heard the chime. The same one I had chosen years ago. Footsteps approached. My heart raced. The door opened. And there was James. Looking at me like he'd seen a ghost. Maybe he had. I was certainly not the woman who had left him. Not the perfect marketing executive. Not the Instagram wife. Just a tired mother. Holding a baby that wasn't his. Standing on the porch of a life I had abandoned. His eyes went from me to Noah. Then back to me. The silence stretched between us. Heavy with unspoken words. Unanswered questions. Unresolved pain. "Hi," I whispered. Just hi. Like 2 years ago. Small words. For big moments. He didn't respond. Just stared. I couldn't blame him. What do you say to the wife who disappeared? Who shows up with another man's baby? Who broke everything? Can I come in? My voice sounded strange. Foreign. Like it belonged to someone else. Someone who hadn't shattered this man's life. He stepped aside. Not speaking. Not welcoming. Just moving. I walked into our old home. Everything was different. The furniture. The colors. The energy. Like walking into a familiar dream. That had been redecorated by a stranger. Noah stirred in my arms. A small whimper. Breaking the silence. James looked at him. Really looked at him. His face unreadable. "He's 6 months old," I said. As if that explained anything. As if that justified everything. The words hung in the air. Like dust in sunlight. Visible but untouchable. I sat on a couch I didn't recognize. In a room I used to own. Holding a baby I never planned for. Facing a man I never meant to hurt. The perfect life I had thrown away. Staring back at me. Wit. Eyes that no longer knew who I was. "I need help," I finally said. The words tasted like failure. Like surrender. James remained standing. Distance between us like a wall. "Mark left," I continued. "When he found out about the baby." Still no response. Just those eyes. Once so warm. Now cold as Silicon Valley venture capital. "I'm behind on rent. Noah's been sick. I can't find work." Each sentence felt like a confession. A testament to my failures. My perfect life in ruins. "What do you want, Sarah?" His voice was different. Harder. Like steel wrapped in silk. I thought maybe. My voice trailed off. What did I think? That he'd welcome us with open arms? That he'd forget everything? That he'd save us? You thought what? Sharp now. Cutting. That we could be a family? He laughed. Not the warm laugh I remembered. Something bitter. Something broken. "The family you couldn't have with me?" The words hit like slaps. Each one deserved. Each one true. Noah began to cry. The sound echoed in the perfect room, with its perfect furniture and its perfect pain. I bounced him gently, shushing softly. Maternal instincts on autopilot. He's beautiful, James said. Unexpected words. Unexpected softness. But he's not mine. And you're not mine. Not anymore. I felt tears forming. Tried to hold them back. Failed at that too. I'm sorry, I whispered. 2 years too late. $1 million short. I know, he said. But sorry doesn't fix anything. Sorry doesn't build trust. Sorry doesn't erase betrayal. He was right. Of course he was right. He had always been right. I've changed, I tried. The words sounded hollow. Even to me. No, he said. You're just desperate. There's a difference. Noah's cries grew louder. Like he understood. Like he felt my shame. I should go, I said. Standing awkwardly. Dignity in shreds. Yes, James agreed. You should. But then he stopped me. Wait. He went to his office. Came back with a check. For the baby, he said. Not for you. I stared at the amount. More zeros than I'd seen in months. I can't. Yes, you can. And you will. For him. He opened the door. Our final goodbye. No kiss this time. No false promises. Just the weight of consequences. I walked to my car. Strapped Noah in his seat. Sat behind the wheel. And broke. Really broke. Sobs shaking my body. Tears blurring the perfect house. The perfect garden. The perfect life I'd lost. Through my tears, I saw James watching. From the window. His expression unreadable. But his posture strong. Unbroken. Unlike me. I started the car. Drove away. Again. But this time. Without hope. Without plans. Without illusions. The check felt heavy in my purse. His final act of kindness. More than I deserved. Less than I needed. I checked into a motel. Clean but cheap. Noah finally asleep. I stared at the ceiling. Thinking Abu. Tea choices. About consequences. About the difference between desperation and change. James was right. I hadn't changed. I'd just failed. Failed at my perfect life. Failed at my escape. Failed at being alone. The next morning, I called my parents. Swallowed my pride. Can we come home? Mom cried. Dad was silent. Then, yes. Just come home. They lived in Seattle now. Far from Silicon Valley. Far from perfect lives. Far from broken dreams. I used James's check. To pay off my debts. To buy plane tickets. To start over. Again. But this time. Without pretense. Without filters. Without perfection. On the flight to Seattle. Noah slept in my arms. I thought about James. His kindness. His strength. His ability to move on. While I was still running. Still searching. Still lost. The Seattle rain welcomed us, washing away the California sun, the Silicon Valley dreams, the Instagram filters. Mom hugged me tight. Dad took Noah. No questions. No judgments. Just family. Imperfect. Real. Mine. In my childhood room. With Noah in a borrowed crib. I finally understood. Perfect was never the goal. Perfect was the problem. Perfect was the lie. I deleted my last ties to Silicon Valley. My LinkedIn profile. My old email accounts. My perfect past. And started writing job applications. For regular marketing jobs. In regular companies. With regular expectations. No more startups. No more unicorns. No more dreams of billions. Just honest work. For honest pay. For my son. Mom watched Noah. While I interviewed. Dad helped with resumes. Small steps. Tiny victories. Real progress. I got a job at a local firm. Making less in a year than I once made in a month. But the work was steady. The people kind. The pressure manageable. Noah grew stronger. Started crawling. Started laughing. His joy pure. Unfiltered. Perfect in its imperfection. Sometimes at night, I still dream of Palo Alto. Of James. Of what could have been. But the dreams don't hurt anymore. They're just memories now. Of a different person. In a different life. A life that looked perfect. But was always empty. Always false. Always doomed. Here in Seattle. Under constant rain. With a toddler on my hip. And a modest paycheck. I finally found something real. Something true. Something worth keeping. It's not perfect. It's better than that. It's mine. 3 years passed in Seattle. Like rain through gutters. Steady, relentless, cleansing. Noah started preschool. I got promoted at work. Life found its rhythm. Then I saw the news. James's company had been acquired. For billions. His face on Forbes. Still handsome. Still kind-looking. But different somehow. More assured. More complete. I closed the browser. Went back to work. Life went on. Until it didn't. My company opened a San Francisco office. They wanted me to lead it. A director position. Better pay. Better opportunities. Better everything. Except the location. Silicon Valley. Where ghosts lived. Where perfect lives died. I almost said no. Almost stayed safe. In rainy Seattle. With my parents. With my comfortable life. But Noah deserved more. Better schools. Better future. Better chances. So I said yes. We moved in summer. Not to Palo Alto. But to Oakland. Different city. Different vibe. Different life. Noah adapted quickly. Made new friends. Loved his new school. I threw myself into work. Built new teams. Created new strategies. Avoided tech conferences. Avoided startup events. Avoided the past. Until one day at Whole Foods, in the produce section, choosing organic apples, I heard his voice. Sarah? Time stopped. My heart didn't. I turned around. James stood there. Shopping cart half full. Looking exactly like his Forbes photo. But more real. More present. More alive. Hi, I managed. Better than O. Not by much. Noah peeked from behind me. Now 4 years old. Curious and fearless. Who's that, Mommy? The question hung there. Like mist in morning air. James smiled at him. Gentle. Genuine. I'm an old friend of your mom's. Simple words. Complex truth. Noah grinned back. Innocent. Unaware. Do you like dinosaurs? James laughed. Real laugh. Not bitter anymore. I do, actually. They talked about T-Rex. While I stood frozen. Watching two worlds collide. He's grown, James said finally. Looking at me now. You look good. Happy. I nodded. I am. Truth, finally. You too. He smiled. I am. More truth. We talked briefly. About work. About life. About nothing important. Everything important. He was engaged. To a pediatrician. They met at a charity event. She couldn't have children either. They were adopting. I'm glad, I said. Meaning it. Really meaning it. Noah tugged my hand. Ready to go. Impatient for lunch. Normal life calling. Take care, Sarah. James said. No bitterness. No pain. Just peace. You too, James. We walked away. Noah chattering about dinosaurs. Me thinking about time. About healing. About growth. That night, in our Oakland apartment. Watching Noah sleep. I felt something shift. Like tectonic plates. Deep and fundamental. The last piece of guilt. The final shard of regret. Dissolving into acceptance. James had found his happiness. Different from what we planned. Better, maybe. More real, certainly. And I had found mine. In a chatty 4-year-old. In honest work. In simple truths. No more perfect lives. No more filtered photos. No more curated dreams. Just this. This moment. This peace. This truth. Noah stirred in his sleep. Clutching his dinosaur. Dreaming his dreams. Pure. Unfiltered. Real. I kissed his forehead. Breathed in his scent. And finally understood. Perfect isn't a destination. It's not even a goal. It's a prison. A beautiful prison. But a prison nonetheless. Freedom is in the flaws. In the struggles. In the honest moments. Between filtered posts. Between perfect plans. Between curated lives. I walked to the window. Looked at Oakland lights. So different from Palo Alto. So different from Seattle. So different from my past. And smiled. Really smiled. Not for Instagram. Not for LinkedIn. Just for me. For Noah. for our imperfect life, for our real happiness. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new choices. But tonight, in this moment, everything was exactly as it should be. Not perfect, but true. And that was enough. End.